Hi, and welcome to lesson 7.3 on solving two-step inequalities. So, first we have this using algebra tiles. Now, you might not be a fan of algebra tiles, and I'll show you both ways, with and without right now. First, we model the inequality right there. So this is 4 times some number minus 3 is greater than or equal to 9, and that inequality is right here. We add 3 to both sides. So I'm going to have this over the side here. 4d minus 3 greater than or equal to 9. So this step right here of adding 3 to both sides is this. So that is that. And this ends up being 0. So in a sense, this all cancels each other out. And we have 4d is greater than or equal to 12. Okay, and so we have here's the 1, 2, 3, 4 is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this right here is that right there. And then we divide each side into 4 equal groups, and that's dividing by 4 over here. So I would divide by 4. And these cancel each other, just like these canceled out to be 0, these cancel out to be 1. So really, it's 1d is greater than or equal to 12 divided by 4, which is 3. And 1d is just the same as d is greater than or equal to 3. And this is equal to this. One of them is greater than or equal to 3 of them. All right. And so I have this right here, 2x plus 7 is greater than 11. And they say use algebra tiles, but I'm not going to use algebra tiles. I'm just going to solve it as we normally would algebraically. Since this is adding 7, I would do the opposite, and I would subtract 7 from both sides. And I have 2x is greater than 4, because 11 minus 7 is 4, and 7 minus 7, well, that ends up being 0. Do the inverse of multiplying by 2, that's dividing by 2. These would cancel, and x is greater than 2. There you go. And it has to be the entire thing right there. You can't just say x is 2. X has to be greater than 2. And we have the other one here. We have 4h minus 4 is greater than or equal to 11. And this is it here. So I would get rid of the subtracting 4 by adding 4. Inverse operations. 5h is greater than or equal to 15. Then since that's multiplication, I would divide by 5. Divide by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1, or they cancel out. Really, I just have h left over. It's greater than or equal to 3. So there it is. And we'll continue with this solving and interpreting solutions. So you can apply what you know about solving two-step inequalities and one-step inequalities to solving two-step inequalities. In this situation, Serena wants to compete in the first 3 miles of a 10-mile run in 45 minutes or less, running at a steady pace. This is the inequality that can be used to find P. So let's see, it's 10 miles, and well, we can't really, 45 minutes. See, 45 minutes is 3/4 of an hour. If you have 45 minutes, that's 45 minutes out of 60 minutes for an hour. And 45, if you divide both of these by 15, divide both of these by 15, 45 divided by 15, I should be doing it the other way because it's just wrong doing it that way. So if I divide both of these by 15, this is 3 and this is 4. And 3/4 is equal to 3/4 or 75 cents. So 3/4 as a decimal is 0.75. And that's where this 0.75 came from, right there. Now, and let's see, she wants to compete the first 3 miles of a 10-mile run. Okay, in 45 minutes or less, right? Okay, so they're saying that this is the inequality that we can use. And throughout this section, they're just going to say, hey, use this inequality right here. Don't get bogged down by all these words. Here's the inequality. And to find P is the pace in miles per hour that she can run to reach her goal. Solve the inequality, then graph and interpret the solution. So they have this here. And if you first step is you have to recognize this minus or negative, whatever you want to call it, is attached to this. It's not attached to the 10. The 10 is actually a positive, and we need opposite signs to begin with here. So that's why you're subtracting 10 from both sides. This right here, you're doing this, so this ends up being 0. And 7 minus 10 is negative 3. Now we still have the negative or minus 0.75p left over. Whatever you're being multiplied by, you have to divide by that exact same number. So if you're multiplying by negative 0.75, you have to divide by negative 0.75. And notice, we're dividing by a negative. So we have to switch the direction of the inequality. So it opens to the right, and then when you divide it by a negative, it has to open to the left. And negative 3 divided by negative 0.75 is 4. So we're going to graph the inequality, greater than or equal to, that means it's colored in right there. It's colored in, and greater than goes to the right. Okay, let's take a look at our this right here. I'm covering up the answer here. So as we have this, Joshua wants to compete in the first mile of a 5-mile run in 10 minutes or less, running at a steady pace. And they're giving us the inequality right here. That can be used. So they want you to solve this inequality, then graph and interpret the solution. Okay, I have the inequality here. So that same one right here. And first, just like what was done here, I would subtract 10. This was subtracting 10 right here. I would subtract 5. Subtracting 5. Okay, I have this left over. P over 6 with a negative in front, less than or equal to 4 minus 5 is negative 1. Now, we can solve this in two different ways. I'm going to keep this here, but I prefer to look at it like this. Now, that negative can go anywhere. Top, middle, bottom. I'm choosing to put it on the bottom. That way, it really just makes it one thing that I do. And if you remember from solving equations, we have to use the inverse operation. That's division. So I multiply these two together. Negative 6 times negative 1, that's positive 6. I had to multiply by a negative. That negative right there says I have to switch the direction of the inequality, opening to the right to opening to the left right there, and P is greater than 6. This is my answer. Now let's say you didn't shift it down to the bottom. You just kept it in the middle. Fine. 6 times negative 1, that is negative 6, but I still have negative P here. Now, I multiplied by a positive here, so I'm not switching the direction of the inequality. It's staying the same right there. But I don't want to know what negative P is. I want to know what regular P is. And so I have to see that this is multiplied by negative 1, so I have to divide by negative 1. These would cancel each other out. Divide this by negative 1. Now I'm dividing by a negative, and now I have to switch the direction of the inequality. And negative divided by negative is positive, so it's going to be positive. 6 divided by 1 is 6. And see, we would get the same answer. But this is, I think you would have to agree, this is a lot shorter than doing the extra step here, dividing by negative 1. And it all is done by just shifting that negative to the bottom. Okay, so P is greater than or equal to 6, so Joshua has to run a steady pace of at least 6 miles per hour. Okay, we have this page here, determining the given value that makes the inequality true. So at this gasoline sells for $4 a gallon. Okay, now when I look at all this, blah, 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 but I'm going to hone in on this right here. They're going to give me the inequality right there. So that's critical. So they're going to tell $4 a gallon. Okay, $4 a gallon. and the watch costs $12. Here's $12, and he wants to keep it under $60. So this amount has to be under or less than 60. So this can be used to find G, the number of gallons of gas she can buy. Determine which of any of these values is a solution. You know what I would do? I actually would do it a little bit differently. You could plug in 10 in for G and figure it out. So 10 can be put in for G, and 11 can, and 12 can. But what about this? I wonder, could I just take this 4G plus 12 less than 60 and just solve it? If I subtract 12, 4G is less than 48, and divide both sides by 4, and I get G is less than 12. Okay, G has to be less than 12. G can't be 12. That's not going to work. But G can be 11 and it can be 10. So right off the bat, I already know this one's not going to work. And they're going to tell me right here, right below, they actually plug 10 in for G. 4 times G is 40, blah, blah, blah. And they get all this math and they find that 52 is less than 60. Yeah, cool. And it works if we get a true statement. Here, 44 plus 12, 56, that's still less than 60. Yeah, works. And here, if G is 4, that'd be 4 times G, which, remember, it's 4 times G plus 12. 48 plus 12 is 60, which is not less than 60, and that's not true. But I didn't have to do all this stuff. I could just solve it and see which values work. Okay, and they wanted you to graph it. So here you go. You graph it. G is less than 12. That's what I found out earlier. And it has to be an open circle. So that's not colored in. Open, and it goes left. So the open circle at 12 means that she can buy any amount up to, but not including 12 gallons. Okay, so we have this. We have these. Circle any of the values that make it true. What I would do, I would solve them and see which values work in there. And I have this here. So I would just solve. I would add 8. And 3v is greater than 30. Divide both sides by 3. And v is greater than 10. So it has to be greater than 10, but it can't be 10. So it looks like only that one is going to work. So I'm going to circle just 11. Okay, the other one is 5h plus 12 is less than or equal to negative 3. And here we go with this. So I would just solve it again. I'm not going to plug everyone in there. That's too much work. So I have subtracting 12. 5h is less than or equal to negative 15. I divide by 5. And h is less than or equal to negative 3. So which of these are less than or equal to negative 3? Whoops. Sorry about that. Let's see. This is which of these are less than or equal to? Well, this is equal to negative 4 is less than negative 3, and negative 5 is less than negative 3. So it looks like all of these are going to work. And so in here, I'm going to circle all 3. And that's what you got to know about solving two-step inequalities and even writing them too. Thank you for watching.